Hey everybody, hope that idling's not too loud for you. Charging my batteries up. Well, I'm sitting on the yard and I'm waiting to get into the shop because my EPU's giving me problems. Now, I can't remember if I talked a whole lot about this in my last video, but, you know, since summertime's come around and it started getting hotter outside, I'm starting to have this problem with my EPU. Basically, like, you know, when I'm down south and I'm in a lot hotter climate, you know, I'm running the EPU on a higher setting to combat how warm it is outside. You know, I think I was somewhere the other day, somewhere down south where it was, I think I was in Louisiana, and it was like 88 degrees at night or something like that. It was pretty warm. So I was running the EPU on high, and I started noticing, like, a couple days in a row, like, I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and I was sweating. It was hot as fuck in the truck. I kicked all the covers off in my sleep, and I look at the AC panel, and it's just off. The blower's off and everything. The whole thing just shut itself down. So I'm thinking, what the fuck? So I turn it back on, let it run, and then I go back to sleep, and then a couple hours later, I'm waking up, and it's hot again. And I'm thinking, oh, fuck, great. You know, and I'm racking my brain, I'm trying to figure out what this issue could be. I'm thinking, well, you know, I mean, if it's, the EPU has its own bank of batteries that it runs off of, that are separate from the main truck batteries, but, and I don't know if they're wired in series or they're parallel, or I don't know how the load is divided. I know the EPU runs off those batteries, but the truck engine charges them. I don't know if it uses, I don't know if it uses battery power from the main battery. I don't know how the whole fucking thing works. All I know is that the truck monitors the battery voltage of both banks of batteries, and when it sees like a voltage of like, I think 12.1 or 12 volts or something like that, the auto start's supposed to kick the engine on and charge the batteries back up. If for whatever reason you don't turn, like say I don't flip the switch for auto start, and the battery voltage gets low, the truck will see that and it will automatically start load shedding. It'll start cutting off one system at a time to preserve the battery so I can start the truck. But, you know, the truck is supposed to, I don't even know if this is a load shedding issue. I don't know if this is maybe the batteries in the back that run the EPU are going bad, but the truck batteries are fine. And so maybe the auto start is seeing that the truck batteries have a good voltage, so it's not starting and charging the back batteries. I don't know what the fucking deal is. I really hope to God that maybe it's like a relay issue or something stupid that they can easily fix, obviously. I just hope it's not the goddamn batteries, because there's 4 of these big-ass AGM deep cycle 720 cold cranking amp batteries, and I got a quote for these fuckers, and they're about, the quote that I got is $250 a piece. So that's $1,000 worth of battery right down in there in the fucking, in the rear battery well. So if they pull me into the shop and they tell me that I need to replace all these AGMs, it's gonna fucking suck. I mean, I've got the money for it. Don't get me wrong. I've got, you know, I got plenty of money to cover the whole thing in my maintenance escrow. Plus, I've got some money set aside in my own personal maintenance account that I keep. And if I do have to end up spending $1,000 a battery, I'll probably put 2 batteries on the maintenance escrow and pay for 2 batteries myself out of my other account. It kind of sucks, though, you know, because the batteries are only a year old. I didn't figure those fuckers would go bad after only a year. But regardless of the fact, I have to get this problem figured the fuck out. Because, like, if I go down south and I have to have AC at night to sleep, my only other option, and I've done this 2 or 3 times this week, is when I stop for the day, I'll run the EPU until I'm ready to go to bed. Then when I go to bed, I have to start the engine and let the AC from the engine run. And of course, that's costing me some extra fuel, but I don't really worry about, I mean, yeah, it is costing me a little bit of money in fuel, but that's not what I give a fuck about. What I give a fuck about is idling a truck like a truck like this with an emission system and clogging that DPF filter. The longer you idle these emissions trucks, the more particulates, the more ash builds up in these goddamn filters. And then you start having problems. Then you start needing regens, and and then you need a cleaning, and then there's like a whole slew of other problems that these emission systems can give you. Now, if I was going to stay out here and make a career out of this, I would not be getting an emissions truck. If I was going to stay out here on the road for good, what I would try to do, what I would most likely do if I was going to make a career out of this, or if I was going to make a career out of OTR, then I would get a truck that's pre-emissions, hopefully that has an EPU or an APU, or maybe get one put on, so I don't have to deal with these bullshit emission problems. You know, I'll accept an emissions truck on a lease because I'm gonna give this truck back at some point. You know, I'm not gonna buy this truck. But you know, I got here yesterday and I got a load on. You know, and I was hoping to get it fixed last night, hit the road, drive all day Saturday, get to where I need to be, then take my reset on the doorstep of the shipper. You know, and I like to keep my resets on a Sunday. I've talked about this. But I got here last night. They said, yeah, it'll be a few hours before we can get you in. So I hung out in the truck. And, you know, I was like, all right, I'll watch a movie. I figured they'd come out and bang on the door when they're ready. That's what they usually do. You know, but, you know, I put my headphones on and I watched Dark Knight, and, you know, I know if they bang on the door, the dog will start barking and let me know. And then I finished the movie, and I'm like, I'm about to go inside and be like, what the fuck, you know, do I need to get a bunk room for the night, or what's the deal? And they called me 30 minutes ago. I was like, God damn it, they called me, and I didn't hear the phone ring, and I went inside. They're like, yeah, we called you, but you didn't answer, so we pulled in another truck. You'll have to turn it in the morning. All right. So, and they said, but the shop opens at 5. They should be banging on your door at 5 or whatever. And so, you know, I get up about 5:30 in the morning, and, you know, I go in there, and I'm like, hey, I was wondering how long it's going to take to get my truck in. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a few hours. What the fuck, man? I've been in line since yesterday. God damn it. You know? So, you know, I'll just take my reset today, and then hopefully they get it fixed by today, and then I'll run the load out tomorrow, and then just work it out that way. Put my reset on a Saturday. You know? So, I mean, I just ran out of my warranty, but that's, you know, even if the battery's gone bad, that's not a warrantable issue anyway. You know, that's a wear and tear thing. Warranty is not going to cover wear and tear. Even if I end up having an electrical issue, you know, it is what it is. You got to pay the cost to be the boss. You know, if you want to make that, this is the whole thing about leasing. You know, if you want to make the extra money, you got to deal with the headaches. You make the extra money so that the company doesn't have to deal with the headaches. You know, that's how it works. So you make the money that the company makes that covers shit like this, you know. But anyways, I mean, for anybody who's thinking, well, see, man, there you go. See, you may be making all that money, but look, now you're having to deal with maintenance problems, and, you know, even though it's a 2017, it's still giving you issues. I mean, like, yeah, true, but the fact still stands. This last week, when I got paid a couple days ago, I peeled $1,000 off that check and put it directly towards an account that I'm trying to pay off. You know, and then I had plenty left over for my bills and my weekly expenses. I already know what I'm going to make next week. It's going to be it's going to be $1,800 to $1,900. I'll put away about $450 for taxes, something like that, and then I'll have about $1,400-ish, $1,500 left over, something like that. Next week, I'm going to peel off another $1,000 off out of that check, and I'm going to pay off an account that I only owe $1,000 on now. So even dealing with this bullshit that I deal with, I'm still making that extra money. I'm still doing better than if I was a company driver. So, you know, I'm just rolling with the punches. Hopefully, you know, it's just some simple fucking issue. We're gonna find out. You know, no matter what it is, I'll have money in the maintenance escrow. But you know, if it's like a couple hours of labor for the diag, plus I gotta replace a whole bank of batteries, I could pay for that with my maintenance escrow and still have money left over. But obviously, my maintenance escrow account will take a massive fucking hit, which is part of the reason why I put money into my own account every week. My own maintenance account, just in case. Just in case I got to run over something big happens, I got to run over the escrow and use my own money. And I also use that account for small things like, you know, the truck wash or, you know, buying oil, little tiny bullshit items, stuff like that. That's what I keep that account for. It's a debit account that I have a card for. But, you know, likewise, I was driving here. You know, I picked up in Indiana and I was cruising over to the terminal. I was only a couple miles away, but I was in the depths of Friday evening Chicago area traffic. So I was in rush hour. Even in even in Indiana, you're basically in the Chicago area, and then up here in this corner of the state. So you still get all that fucking gnarly traffic, and it was hot, and it was stressful, and people were driving like fucking dipshits, as they tend to do. You know, and I'm coming down this 2-lane road just from this warehouse, and I'm in an area that is not truck friendly, and I got to make a right turn to get back to the Gary terminal in this small ass intersection. And I start coming up to make the right turn, and when I get to the intersection, I stop, and this young chick in this tiny little car, who's in the left turn lane on the road I need to go down, she's pulled up at least a full car length past that white line that you're supposed to stop at. The line that they put on the road for you to fucking stop so that trucks can make the fucking turn. She's pulled a good 12 feet past that shit. So I'm just looking at her, and she's looking at me like she's trying to figure out what to do, but she can't back up because someone's right behind her. You know, and I got a green light, so I'm like, you know what? I'm looking at her, I'm shaking my head, I just got to keep on going. I turn my signal off, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll have to find somewhere else to turn. You know, so then I had to keep going down this road, and there's all these low-hanging trees on this road that are banging off the top of my truck. You know, and I'm hoping I don't lose my satellite antenna, and, you know, these branches are banging off the truck, and I'm thinking, I bet I just knocked my beacon light off the top right corner. Because the flatbed trucks on the ProStars, we have these little beacon lights that are on the top rear for running oversized. On the Freightliners, they're lower than the roof line, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm thinking, I bet I just knocked that fucker off. Sure enough, I get to the terminal, I knock the little orange beacon lens off, and when that happened, it actually snapped the plastic brackets off. It fucked the whole assembly. So I had to walk into the shop, and I had to buy a new assembly for $40. But I didn't have them put it on because something simple like that I could take care of. And I have everything I need to do to perform something like that. And part of that is just from me working at Western Express, because I was fixing my own issues all the time. And I don't know if I ever told this story, but long story short, when I started training for Western and I got my truck, the first load that me and my first trainee went to pick up, we went to grab it from a guy at a truck stop 30 miles away from the yard. And we got there, and it was an oversized load, and I didn't know anything about it. The guy just gives me the load, and he gives me the paperwork. He says, "Oh, here you go, and there's permits too. It's overweight or whatever. Blah blah blah. I don't care, you know." And just leaves. And I'm looking at the permits. I'm like, "This isn't overweight. This is oversized. This is rebar hanging like 6 feet off the rear of the trailer, and like 3 feet off the front." I'm like, "This guy's a fucking idiot." The load was not flagged. Didn't have any signs up. Any of that shit. So, and it was snowing outside. So, you know, I flagged the load, and I put the oversized signs on and stuff like that. But I had just gotten that truck like that day or the day prior, and it was a good shape. It was a Cascadia with only 25,000 miles on it. It was the automatic that they gave me so I could train. But the beacon lights and the floodlights were not wired up. They were disconnected for fucking whatever reason. They'd never been hooked up. So when it was in the dark, in the snow, I got out there with my tools, and I had to hunt down the wires underneath the frame of the truck. They go to the floodlights and the beacon. I had to figure out which one was which and wire them up. And, you know, luckily, you know, the trainee I had at the time was he's a worker, so he was out there in the snow helping me when he didn't have to. And I told him, "You don't have to help me. I could take care of this." He's like, "No, man, fuck it, we'll get it done." But, you know, working at Western, I got all my electrician's tools, you know, all my hand tools, and then I got sockets. I keep a 1/4-inch impact driver with me, battery powered drill, battery powered impact driver, drill bits, sheet metal screws, different kinds of screws. You know, it used to be a Western. I was rewiring the lights on every trailer that I got because the wiring was all fucked up all the time. So I was constantly rewiring lights. I don't have to deal with that here, but I still keep all those tools. Because you never know when you're going to be in a pinch, you're going to need to fix an electrical issue or something. So I got up there on my ladder and I replaced this damn beacon light. You know. Took care of all that. Hell, you know what? I could do the oil changes and the filter changes myself and save the money on labor. You know, I could. The problem is, you know, all my automotive tools are stowed away in my toolboxes in the back of my storage unit in Texas. And even if I got down to Texas and pulled all my tools out to do the PM, my own PM on my truck, I don't have anywhere to do the PM on the truck. I mean, take it to the nearest truck stop with all the necessary tools and do it there? I guess I could, you know, but, you know, the storage unit where all my shit's stored at, I used to be able to work on vehicles there, but then a new management took over, and they don't allow that shit. You can't work on cars there. So I definitely can't work on a truck there. So instead, you know, I mean, I just kind of accept that as, you know, instead of having to pay the cost to have somewhere to work on a truck, like a house or an apartment or whatever the fuck, I just take that extra money that I save from not having any bills, and, you know, I just get that shit taken care of. You know, if I had somewhere to wash the sumbitch, I'd wash it myself and detail the exterior myself, but I don't have anywhere to wash it. You know, I can't take it to my mom's house in the suburbs and park it in her driveway and wash it there. You know, they're not cool with that. So, you know, I just pay for the truck wash. You know? Fuck it. You know, and time is a huge factor. When I go home, you know, I don't go home very often, so, you know, I want to spend my time, you know, enjoying myself when I go home. But, you know, likewise, I don't have to get the PM done. I got the PM done at the terminal. I don't have to get it done here at the terminal or whatever. I can get it done somewhere else, but I just, you know, the terminal, their labor rates are cheaper than a lot of other shops, and I can trust the terminal. They know how to work on ProStars and Cascadias. That's all they fucking work on. That's all they work on. That and the odd... They could work on other shit, like owner-operators trucks, but they rarely do. You know, every once in a while they'll work on a Columbia, but they know they're Pro-Stars and they know they're Cascadias. Their labor rates are cheaper. They've always got the parts on hand. And if something goes wrong or they fuck up, I know I can always come back and they will have accountability. That's why I like doing things through the company that if I possibly can. You know, like this issue, this if it needs I need an electrical diagnosis, or diagnostic rather. There's only two places I'd take something like that. It's the international dealership or one of the company shops. And if I go to the international dealership, you know, they're going to charge me way more for labor. They could have me sitting for 2 fucking days. I'd have to be staying in a hotel and all this bullshit. You know, fuck all that. You know, the problem with going to third-party shops is that, you know, you have to use different shops to figure out which one's good. You know, you got to figure it out. And it's just, you know, I just don't want to take the time to do that, not at this point. And I trust our Gary shop. They got a lot of technicians. You know, I know they got a well-run shop. You know, I go to some TA or some Loves or some truck shop. I don't know who the fuck's running the place. I don't know what kind of scams they're trying to fucking run. You know, I don't know what kind of scams their technicians are running. You know, I with my last company, you know, I've been to a shop like that fucking shop in Colorado. You know, they'll bring a truck in to work on it, and then they'll sit on that sumbitch for they'll bring it into the shop and pop the hood, then they'll go back to the other trucks they're working on. Meanwhile, your shit's, you know, they're charging you for labor while they're not even working on your shit. And I don't like that. I don't play that fucking game. And I know the company is not going to do that to me. You know. But whatever. That's where I'm at right now. Just trials and tribulations. You know. I mean, at least it's an EPU issue. It's, you know, it's an auxiliary problem. It's not anything to do with the engine or the actual operation of the truck. Everything else is in good shape. Just had the 90-day inspection done and everything's fine. So, I'm hoping I can get this taken care of today, get back out on the road, and keep making money. Take advantage of this summer. You know, hopefully they keep me a little bit busier than they've been keeping me, because, you know, things haven't been flowing as well. You know, and I've been making decent money, but I could be making more. You know, they just need to, it's all about planning. They're just, the way they're planning some of these loads, like even the well-paying ones, it's just, you know, I deliver, then I got a big window of time until, you know, I pick up the next one, and then just the delivery times are weird, and just shit like that. But that's where I'm at right now. You know, I'm going to make another video later. Either today or tomorrow, talking about some other stuff. I'll let you guys know what happens. That's it. I'll talk to you guys later.